Hey kids, thanks for joining me in the garage again. Today I'm going to go over the Porter cable chop saw that I purchased and whether or not I feel like it's worth the money for a beginning fabricator. Comment down below if you have one as well and your experience with it. Well, go ahead, I'll wait. See you in just a minute. All right, let's go over some of the parts of this chop saw. And so you can see here, when it comes in the box, it's locked down. And over here is the little lock. So if you just press down and then pull that, that'll open the saw up. So, and then again, you press it all the way down, push that in, and then that'll lock it. Also in here, if we open this up, there's a little bolt right here that essentially kind of, if we screw this up here, this kind of stops the saw from, you can essentially make the blade stop. As your blade gets kind of worn down, you can lower this. I just keep it at the lowest spot. It doesn't seem to do any harm. It makes it so you have the widest available width to be able to chop on. So this chop saw in particular has this vise here. And so the first thing you're going to want to do when you get this is get this thing squared up. And so I found, right now I have it at kind of a 45 degree. I found that the markings on it aren't super accurate. And so you really want to have yourself kind of a carpenter square. I have a few of these. And so you want to make sure you use this to square it up or get your 45 degree angle. I think most common thing to do is to do a 90 or a 45 on this. And so the bottom here, it comes with the little Allen wrench. This is for both adjusting the fence as well as taking the saw blade off. And so to adjust the fence here, you can flip up this vise. Let me loosen it up a little bit. But that undoes the vise, so you can just slide it in and out. And then you can just unscrew this, and that'll loosen it up so you can then move the vise there. What you'll want to do, probably the easiest way, and now this is going to be a little hard to see, but you can take your carpenter square here and just slide it in there. And I found that if you press the blade down, it actually, this particular carpenter square anyway, will square it right up with the blade. And so you just kind of get that set in there, and then you can crank it down. And so the next thing, if you're trying to do a 45 degree, you'll set that there. And then again, you can take this carpenter square and get it square to the blade there. And you don't really want to push hard against the blade, but then that'll get you set to a 45. And so you can it's a little hard to see, I suppose, but the marking here isn't quite accurate on the 45. And so that's the first thing you're going to want to do in order to get, get set up to do some cutting. Now, the other thing that I recommend, and I think, it's probably almost a requirement on these chop saws, I think I paid just right around $100 for this off Amazon, and it comes with a blade. The blade it comes with is just this standard Porter cable 14-inch chop saw blade. And you'll notice here, I used this at first, and it really, took a while in order for this to chop through. I was chopping through the 2-inch square tubing that I used to build this table. And so what I ended up doing, I saw in some of the Amazon reviews that some people got some different blades. And so I went on Amazon and I picked up some Makita blades. And so this is the 14-inch Makita blade here. And you'll notice, just using this the first few times, how much this ate through this Porter cable. And so you can really see, just the little use, it chewed through an inch and a half of this blade. And so these Makita blades seem to do real well. we'll go over, we'll do some cuts right now, and I'll show you. I'm still having some issues with, I don't know if it's blade flex, if I need to use a thicker blade, or if I'm not getting things lined up well, because it doesn't seem to be cutting at a perfectly up and down angle. So let's go over now, and I'll do a couple of cuts on this, and I'll show you the results that I'm getting. All right, as you can see, I took the blades off that, and you will note that that does blow the breaker, well, not the breaker, but the little power strip that I have it plugged into. And so, you know, that happens. It's a 15 amp chop saw, and I think, you know, as you press down on it really hard, you end up kind of blowing those breakers. So, you know, as you can see with that Porter cable, you know, it really chews through the blade. So I've only used this blade, you know, that was, you know, a couple more times. And then I've used this Makita one many more times. You know, I did the whole this whole welding table with it, and the press shelf that I, you know, for the base of the press that I did. And you can see how much more of this blade has been chewed through. And so this here is a 3/32 wide blade. This is a 7/64. And so, you know, it's a 1/64 of an inch thicker, but, you know, I think it's just much more well made. And so that's, I think, one of the issues that you'll want to consider when you get this, is to actually go and purchase some more quality blades. So as you'll see here, this side here is the side that I did with the Makita, and it's not quite square, as you can see there. I still think I'm pressing down a little too hard on that, but it's pretty close to being 45. So you can see there that it's pretty close to 45. And so this side here is the Porter cable side, and this side here, it's much farther off from being square. And then, you know, what that does is it, even though this is probably pretty close to 45, the issue with it not being square is it makes one side shorter and one side longer. And what it does essentially is that blade is deflecting and then cutting at an oblong angle that's not square. I think part of the issue is that this is a thinner blade and the Makitas are a thicker blade, but the Makitas as well are also much more sturdy, much better built blades. And so I think that's part of the issue. One other thing too I'll note, let me grab the saw, is when you're cutting these long pieces, it's kind of interesting how they designed this. And so if you look at this, you'll see that the way they've got this deck is it's essentially 3 inches or 2 2x4s. If you got a really long piece, you don't have to worry about just having it held solely by the clamp. Because one of the issues as well is you don't want this piece to be rocking up and down on either direction, because that'll also affect the way the angle of your cut and whether or not it's square. So, overall, I think this saw probably for me is about 3.5 stars out of 5. I think, if I start doing more projects like this, like building a welding table or working on the truck, if I do some welding on that, which I do have plans for, I might end up picking up like an evolution saw, like a cold cut saw essentially. They work a lot quicker. I don't know if you've seen those, and they're a lot cleaner. There's no sparks flying everywhere. It basically chips it almost like a mill does. And so I'll probably end up picking up one of those and selling this on Craigslist or something. So hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that thumbs up. If you're here for the first time, consider subscribing. You can always follow me on Instagram @WeekendWrenchTurner. Thanks for watching. Keep on wrenching.